In this video, I want to talk a little bit more about updating the values in a variable, specifically updating a number. We haven't seen this yet, but we can store other types in a variable, things like text or strings, which we're about to get to, booleans, all sorts of different values. But we're talking about numbers for now, because that's all we know. Up until now, we've only seen numbers. So I'm going to make a new variable. We'll just call it score. We're playing a game. Let's say my score starts at 0. All right, so it's 0. Now, if I wanted to add, let's say I'm playing a game and every time I collect a coin, we're adding 5 to my score. Okay, so if I want to update score by 5, obviously I could do this, score just equals 5. But that's only going to work the first time. Now, if I want to add 5, I need to do score equals score plus 5. As we saw in the previous video, we're taking the current value, which is 5. We're adding 5 to that. That gives us 10. We take that number and save it under score. So now score is 10. So I could do this every time I need to. I'm using the up arrows, by the way, up and down arrows rather, to navigate my previous code. I could do this every time I want to update. So every time you collect a coin in my game, we're adding 5. But there's actually an even shorter syntax. And this is far more commonly used. It looks like this. Score plus equals 5. And this is saying exactly what we have above. Take the current score, set it equal to score plus 5. So it's just a condensed way of doing it. It's not as easy or clear to read when you're just starting out, but this will become second nature. So if I do that, we're now at 60, right? We look at score at 60. So if I do plus equals 10, the score will now go to 70. We also have other variants like score minus equals, let's say 50. We hit a trap, a spike, I don't know. Something got us in the game. We have to lose 50 points. Now we go down to 20. I just said score equals score minus 50. It's the exact same thing. It's just briefer. So we have multiplication. You have star equals. So I can multiply my score by 2. And we get 40. I can divide with slash equals to get 20. Those aren't as common. It's pretty common to increment something or to decrement. In fact, it's so common to increment things by 1 or decrement by 1. So for example, score plus equals 1 or score minus equals 1. This is super common in JavaScript and just programming in general. So let's make a new variable. By the way, I remembered the shortcut to clear the console, Command K on a Mac. You can also type clear like this, which I have been doing for a very long time in my videos. And then someone pointed out a couple weeks ago, there's a way that's way easier. You can just hit Command K. Anyway, let's make a new variable. We'll call this one, how about num lives? So this will be the number of lives you have left in your game. Let's say we have 9 lives, like a cat. Obviously not true. My cats have not had 9 lives, just 1. But let's say we have some number of lives called 9. And we're going to increment this by 1 or decrement by 1, right? You lose in the game, we subtract 1 life. I guess maybe you collect some power up, we add 1 life. Like in Mario, I think, what is it, the mushrooms? Certain things give you a 1 up. Anyway, instead of working with 5 or 10 or decrementing by 20, we're working with 1 at a time. So let's say you lose your life, or you lose a life, num minus equals 1. That's one option. What am I doing? Num lives minus equal 1. Num lives is now 8. But there's a shorter option, which is this. Num lives minus minus. And that's it. This is really common in other programming languages. It's just going to decrement whatever comes to the left of it, which is num lives. And we get, well, it shows us 8. This is why it's mildly confusing in the console. It's just giving us the current value of num lives before it's updated. But we can see num lives did actually go down by 1. It was decremented by 1. So if I run that again, we look at num lives, not hens, but num lives, it goes down to 6. Now we also have plus plus, which does the opposite. It increments by 1. So now if we look at num lives, once again, we're up to 7. So this is pretty common to see. And like I said, there's a lot of situations where you update something by 1, increment by 1, or decrement by 1. If you're counting things, or if you're keeping track of, let's say you're keeping your place in a long string of letters or characters, and you're moving forward 1 at a time, it's pretty common to have these counter variables, which we'll get to. So just telling you ahead of time, you will see both this syntax something like num lives, let's say plus equals 4. That will add 4 to the current value and update num lives. And things like num lives plus plus to add 1, or minus minus, an even shorter way of incrementing and decrementing by 1. Okay,